That right there is Preston Graves, the frontman for the band Cupcakes, who are reuniting on Saturday night. It's Superman's birthday, February 20th. It is Superman's birthday.
That's a factoid that I'm pretty impressed that you even know.
Well, the things I could tell you about comic books.
Oh, you're a comic guy.
I'm afraid so. Before we talk to Preston, we are also outside Cafe El Tapatio, right at Roscoe and Ashland, who graciously provided us amazing smell. It smells ridiculous. It smells so good.
It's incredible.
So before we talk cupcakes, that's your phone, not mine. Before we talk cupcakes, before we eat food from Cafe El Tapatio, I do want to mention today's podcast episode is sponsored by C&H Financial Services. Business owners, are you tired of your hard-earned profits going toward paying expensive fees every time your customer pays with a credit or debit card? We're happy to announce our partners at C&H Financial Services have the solution. C&H is the fastest-growing financial services company in Illinois, as recognized by Inc. magazine, and their patented technology allows you to eliminate 100% of the fees associated with accepting credit and debit cards as a form of payment. That is no small deal if you're a restaurant. That's right, 100% of the fees, Preston Graves. C&H will also upgrade your business to the industry's leading point-of-sale system to streamline every aspect of your business for no cost. No cost. Visit freeprocessingnow.com or call 800-555 or it's 855-600-2437 extension 999 and start saving money today.
It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
Those
Ready?
are my favorite words. No cost.
No cost. Oh, yeah. Who doesn't love those words? So Cafe El Tapatio, this place has been here since 1974. There are people watching on Facebook Live. There are people listening right now who weren't born yet when this place first opened in Chicago on the northish side.
I didn't even live in the country in 74.
Where were you?
I was in Germany.
Is that where you were born?
That's where I was born.
I don't think I knew that about you.
I'm an army brat.
That makes sense. So Cafe El Tapatio, they've been here since 74. Check this out. They're chefs. You know, we both work in and around the music industry where longevity is something hard won and hard to find. This place has had chefs there for 47 years and 37 years.
So that Vincente has been there for...
I don't think Vicente, I think he's the manager. I don't know if he's a chef, but they have chefs there, and I think they're both women. They've been there for literal decades.
Do you know what that means? That what is burning my legs right now is going to taste amazing.
You have so much food on your lap, and again, I want to thank...
That's what happens.
I want to thank the Brown Line. Is that the Brown Line above us? I think it is.
Yes.
I want to thank the Brown Line for racing over our heads. I want to thank El Tapatio for the food, which we are going to bust out. Cupcakes. Here, I'll start to unravel this mystery here. You want to hand me one of the bags?
I dare you to open this bag. I think this bag has your name all over it.
There's more food. I think they were planning on all Cupcakes to be in the car. Because Cupcakes is a 4-piece band, but we have frontman Preston Graves, the golden voice of the band, sitting next to me.
You're too kind, my friend. Too kind.
So I guess as we do this unboxing...
So I got the nosh things here, and I think that can go between...
What's that?
I got the little chippy noshes.
Oh, yes. Tortillas.
Is that what they're called? Corn tortilla?
Wait, don't you live in Texas now?
Man.
You need to know your Mexican food if you're in Texas.
I'm going to tell you right now, this Yankee barely leaves his house. I think these are called empanadas? Empanadas.
Oh, hold those up. They're like pastry
some
almost.
Some say empanada, some say empanada. I say call it off. So.
Delish.
Those actually look like the real deal. Oh, so I can get behind this.
Well, good thing we brought a bunch of cerveza and tequila. We've got a box of limes. Man, look at this. This is citrus for days.
That's a lot of hard work, man. Somebody cut all those up.
It really is. All right, I want to find out what's in the styrofoam in front of me.
I know what's in it.
Do you?
Yeah, you've got...
Ooh.
I'd be willing to bet... I was going to say, you have all the fixings for some tacos.
There are definitely tacos in here. These might be steak tacos. They're refried beans. Some Mexican rice in there. I'm trying to hold this up. This looks delicious.
Holy smokes, man. I'm pulling out a bag, what appears to be silverware.
Oh, thank God.
And I'm going to give you one.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to keep one, and then we're going to keep the rest for the spirits behind us.
Right.
It's important, the spirits.
I don't think I'm crazy in saying that some people watching or listening may not be familiar with Cupcakes. It's been 20 years since that album came out.
Who?
And there may have been people in 2000 who didn't know who Cupcakes were. But the point is, it's been 20 years since you put out your one and only album on DreamWorks Records. I remember at the time in Chicago, so many people were talking about Cupcakes. You were a buzz band in the city. You signed that record deal, and the band just imploded. That's the long story made short.
That's yeah. I mean, if you want to like not talk about it and just go real quick, that's it.
That's the summary. That's the hook, and now we're
a little bit more nuanced than that. I think
that's the lead sentence, and now we're going to flesh it out with some information.
Yes.
So tell me walk us through again. Buzzed about Chicago band at the end of the 20th century.
Well, let's talk about that period. I mean, you wrote a little book about that era. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on in this city. This city was, as a kid working in the trenches, when I say the trenches, the Metro, opening Double Door, House of Blues. I mean, every stage in this town I've worked on.
Meaning what?
As either a house crew or a bar back or door. I started working.
You were everywhere.
I ran away in '86, and I came here and I was working at Avalon in Clubland in the Vic by '88. I'd already this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Speaking of before people were born.
Yeah, a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I'm dating myself. For the first time, I'm super, super glad that I'm in my 50s. I'm a survivor.
You are absolutely a survivor.
Yeah, totally.
So we're going to jump around a little bit. Cupcakes are back one night only. This is one of those, don't sleep on this. This may never happen again. Who knows? Cupcakes reuniting for one night, playing the debut album at Metro on the 29th. This is going to be... were you the one I saw on social media who said, come on, this is going to be the biggest scene event of the year?
Well, it's true.
It kind of is.
I mean, it is. We were very fortunate to be a part of a scene that was really on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And
no doubt about it.
There was a lot of... Before we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have a wall, a feed, we didn't have screens in our face. We had our faces, and we were out every night, and we were talking. We were face to face, and probably the last time it's ever going to happen in our world. And everybody was networking between radios and clubs and even like purveyors that were filling the clubs up with products. I mean, it really was all hands on deck, and it was pretty fun to be a part of.
There's a lot of nostalgia placed on those years that we both lived through, that kind of seminal, heady period of the late 90s, beginning of the 21st century. There was a lot of maybe not great stuff happening at the time, but I think now the memories are more about the positive things that came out of that era. And I think the people who didn't live through it wish they had.
No question. I mean, that's the whole thing about history and people always it was better back then, and it's getting worse now, and
sure,
kids didn't used to do this, and people used to know their place that, and I mean that just carries on through all the ages of people. But that was a very special time for this city, I think.
Without a doubt. Tell me about the members of your band who are not here.
These guys? Those guys?
See, here's the thing. I'm going to interrupt you. When Cupcakes broke up, you had a bit of a reputation for all hating each other or not getting along.
Well, it's really,
so the fact that you're not together tonight doesn't necessarily surprise me.
We're not together tonight. We haven't been in the same room yet. Everyone is so incredibly busy with their families.
Wait, you haven't practiced together yet for the 29th?
And there's only been sectionals. And by sectionals, I mean Greg and I got together and worked on breathing and worked on, okay, these are lyrics, these are singing.
And identify who these people are as you're talking about them.
Greg and I wrote a major body of the work of Cupcakes. And Greg is the guitar player. And working sectionals, instead of getting it all in one room and it'd be a complete chaotic mess, we were working on little parts, the sections, to get this ready. So Matt and Greg have worked on...
Matt Walker,
the drummer, have worked on getting the arrangement for the set and the backing tracks that we play over. And since then, we've lost all of that stuff from the 90s, and so we've had to recreate it all. So that was part of the sectional. And then Greg and I run it and see if we can, still sing together, and that worked out. And he has to get his tones and sounds together. There's a lot of moves there, so that's another part of that process. We're not going to get in the room until 2 days before the show.
That sounds shocking, but it's not like you don't know these songs.
It is shocking for me because I'm not a ringer. I don't make TV money like these guys. I mean, Greg is given 150 songs. He's going to go live in 5 minutes at American Idol, and it's going to go live, and then there's a key change last minute, which is really just mind-boggling.
Explain what you're talking about.
He's a ringer. Like, they don't make mistakes.
Explain the American Idol thing.
They have to know 150 songs.
I thought you were saying he was part of the American Idol juggernaut.
Well, he's the guitar player on TV for that.
Well, see, I didn't know that. That's what I was getting at.
That's his main gig right now. That's
okay.
TV money.
That all makes sense now. I'm glad we clarified that.
So
okay.
Greg is the main guitar player on American Idol.
Okay.
So he gets some TV time, but basically it's a lot of work. They got to know a lot of songs in a very short period of time. But more importantly, so-and-so can't sing it in this key, so there's a lot of juke and jiving before literally live taping. So that kind of pressure for him is part of his vocation.
Right, that's just his world.
I wrote these songs. Oh, of course I can do this. I do this all day long. So he is really... I didn't know him like this. We were all coming up as... of course he's a great musician then, but they've taken their careers to places at super high levels.
Super high levels. I do want to say I'm about to eat the taco from Cafe El Tapatio.
Do it. I dare you.
Got to plug our
restaurant. I got some food in here. Mm-hmm. So, they're ringers. They get hired to play people's music, and they literally have to learn it on the plane to the show that they're stepping up on. And it's like that. And they get their dough, and a lot of times they get asked to be in the band. Hence, Greg working overtime.
And Greg also works with the B-52s.
He is a member of the B-52s.
I saw him at Riot Fest this year.
He works very hard with them.
I bet.
That's a real treat to watch him and Sterling Campbell, because that's pretty much the band. It's, rinky, guitar and rhythmic, those riffs, and then Sterling Campbell is incredible. So I enjoy watching that.
You haven't mentioned Sal yet.
I love me some Saul.
The other member of Cupcakes.
The brothers, Solomon and Matt. Saul is working hard for Bryan Adams, the Canadian Knight, and killing it. He's being treated like a true gentleman and a true artist, and it's a dream.
Bryan Adams.
Considering where he has come from.
And then his brother Matt, we've known, he was the guy who replaced Jimmy Chamberlain in Smashing Pumpkins. He's played with Morrissey for years, played with Garbage. He is just a percussive force of nature. He's been on this podcast before. He's a phenomenal musician.
Dear brother, without question.
So, you guys, explain the rise and fall, I guess, of Cupcakes for perspective. Everyone who knew the band, saw the band, heard that debut, the eponymous album, thought, well, this is a band that's going to go the distance. Kid A was right around that time, too, and you were kind of like a more accessible Radiohead. You had these cool atmospheric sounds going on, these lilting vocals. It seemed like kind of a no-brainer. And then... there's a lot of things that were going on then. We look at the industry, it folded up
pretty much at the time we were released.
That was Napster time?
That was a little after Napster. I kind of cleared it out that this is the new normal.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had Mo Austin ask me.
Mo Austin from DreamWorks.
From DreamWorks, of Warner Brothers fame and whatnot. These guys signed some of the biggest things in the world. And he's like, what are MP3s? And I'm like, well, that's the end of you and me. And he really just didn't understand it. And I technically didn't. And here we are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we really did watch a industry get completely taken over by technology. It's pretty incredible, actually. And it wasn't protected.
Right.
Nobody really protected it like they would another industry.
You got signed.
Yeah, we did.
What were your expectations?
To work. I look at these little stickers that we made and these little promo things because I'm going to the archives. We're going to sell a bunch of this stuff off at the show. And on tour forever was this thing I wanted to be. I wanted to be on tour forever. I wanted to play. If we're making $500 tonight, we're going to make $500 tomorrow night, and we're going to make $500 the next night, and we're just going to keep going. I wanted to be a lifer like nobody's business.
I could see that.
And
that was the goal going in.
That was the goal. And like all plans, as soon as you get punched in the face, they all change drastically.
So what was that first label back tour like?
The what?
The first tour that was backed by a label, when they put their muscle behind you.
What did that feel like? On top of the world, it was incredible.
Were you doing small clubs as a headliner? Were you supporting? What were you doing?
At that point, it really wasn't. They weren't really pushing us to play. We'd already showed them we could play.
Mm-hmm.
It was more about people like Lenny Waronker going, "You don't have a song," and when Lenny Waronker tells you don't have a song, you go to work because. Right. That dude knows. That guy's
and Vidiots was the single, right? Or
yeah,
was it
I guess it kind of fell in that. I don't know what a single was at the time, and I had a really bad attitude about that. We just made a record. In my opinion, you can play any of these songs. None of this was junk or filler. I mean, that was one of the key things about having Stephen Street was. We were going to woodshed that once you started this record, it was just one smash after the other.
Woodshed is such a Chicago musician term. Yeah. We're in the middle of woodshed season right now in February.
Is that what's going on?
Oh yeah, it's winter. Woodshedding.
I'm so out of it. I haven't been here for 5 years.
I'm glad you're back.
Feels good, to an extent.
So. They put the album out, and it was probably one of those things, well, we'll let the single identify itself. We'll see what people gravitate toward.
There was none of that on their part. If they did that, then I think it would have been okay. What they did was they dropped all of our product in this market and let us fend for ourselves on our meager little tour support and let it burn out till they had enough gumption to look us in the face and go, you guys are dropped. That's exactly what happened. The night that they all came out as a label, I knew something was weird by their energy, and we were out. God, we were out with? We were about to finish up Citizen King. We were out with Citizen King, and they had a bunch of kids showing up for their
Milwaukee
shows. Band. Yeah,
local.
They worked hard, and they had that sound that was like we're playing to a bunch of fresh-faced kids, and. We do our show. Everyone is literally screaming our name when we leave the show. We were notorious for doing that 30-minute set and got the hell off the stage. No questions.
Leave them wanting more.
No, right, exactly.
The Showbiz 101.
It is. If you didn't do that, you kind of failed. And so they're literally screaming, "Cupcakes, cupcakes, cupcakes." And I'm like, God, I'm so glad the label saw this. This is what we're doing every night.
Right.
I'm so glad they saw this. And then they were backstage, and you could see it. It's like, there's a decoupling energy happening here. This doesn't feel right. When we got in the car, and we're in the desert, we're about to go to Las Vegas. So this was San Diego. We're going across 10 or whatever that is to Las Vegas. And they gave us the call while we were in the van. They didn't even have the guts to tell us to our faces.
While you were there in front of them, right?
That's what they came in to do. But they got completely just, wow. How are you going to tell a band they just did this to a room that we're dropping you?
Wow. So while you're in the van,
we got the call. We pulled the van over. I'm
was this on speaker?
No. This was.
Who took the call?
Tour manager, brick phone. Like the brick phone was for the tour, and we had 2 vans. Nobody wanted to be in a van with me. I had my whole van to myself. So we pulled over to the side of the road, literally a desert. There's dunes. It is the most beautiful, quintessential dune picture you've ever seen. There's nothing in the way. It's just dunes. And the doors opened up, and I sat at the van, and Matt walked forward, and Greg walked to the left, and Solomon walked to the right, and kept going until they were like this on the horizon. They were like little dots, and all it was just lines of freshly walked footsteps in the dunes, and that was the end of our band. I'll never forget it. I didn't know if they were coming back. Of course they were, because you're going to die out there. Right. So they came back.
That to me says everything about Cupcakes. Just the dialogue and the communication and the relationships at that point.
We were so... Greg and I was okay with the brothers. I'd already been in another band with them prior to this. Mm-hmm. We had already been pre-disastered on my bullshit. So we already had that dance down. What I did to Greg was pretty brutal, and it got to the point for the last year and a half of us touring. So when we made the record, we stopped talking, and for a year and a half, we never spoke or talked to each other. It was always between either a tour manager or a band member.
That's no way to exist.
Greg refused to sing any harmonies. I mean, it was pretty amazing. I pushed him there. I take full accountability for that.
I want you to eat food. I want to eat some food while it's still warm.
I know that somewhere in this
empanada
orgy of something that there is mine. Dude, that's you.
Is that what is? Oh my God, those are
taquitas.
Tamales.
Oh, those tamales are taquitas.
Are they in corn husks?
I think those are.
Oh no, those are
crunchy corn. Ah, here I am.
Oh, that looks good. Hold it up for the folks at home.
Hey, I'm having a burrito.
A gigantic burrito.
It's about the size of my head.
It's going to take him longer to eat that than it took for the Cupcakes to have their moment on DreamWorks.
Man, it was a little better than that. You know what we did? That's what's so disjointed about it. We decided that we were never going to work this town. That we had other people to get other than our friends. And, of course, it didn't go to plan, and we never came back. Literally playing this show at Metro this week. I think it's coming up this week.
Yep.
It's the first time we've ever offered anybody merch in Chicago. T-shirts, anything to.
You didn't sell anything when you played before?
Not in this town. It was for other markets, because we knew that we had our friends, and they weren't going to buy our record. We had to go do what I was watching like Kill Hannah do at the time, which was make all these kids like know their records and know their wares in all these markets. It was pretty incredible and definitely worth emulating.
Oh yeah, they figured everything out for sure.
Dude, they were the first band on the internet as far as I'm concerned. They've nailed that. A lot of people had a lot of, like, oh, whatever, Kill Hannah. No, these kids are doing it.
They absolutely figured it out. Right. So you hinted toward it. We're kind of talking around it. What were you doing that made you so impossible to deal with that you had to take your own vehicle when you're on the road? Because, I mean, here you're delightful. Well, we're sharing food.
I'm in a band with in Cupcakes. Everybody in that band is pretty much a Boy Scout. And my 90s, whatchamacallit, I was on drugs. I was making bad decisions on drugs, and those guys are sober. They're straight. That's why they have their careers the way they are. They're just dependable people, and I was not dependable. I was not emotionally dependable, and I certainly wasn't like, God, we started a business with this wacko.
Right.
So
With 20 years removed, full of clarity, can you look back and see their position and say,
absolutely. I knew it then too. I mean, that's why it wasn't the disaster as a lot of people think it was. We worked insanely hard together in very adversarial situations. Mm-hmm. And we did it professionally. Our output demonstrates that. Mm-hmm. There was never like violence that like shut it all down. There was like when you hear from other, horrible stories from other bands, there was never it just, when we got dropped, it was such an emotional kick in the dick or balls or groin.
That whole area.
Can I say any of that?
It's a podcast.
Awesome.
Uh-huh.
This is my first one.
Really?
Ever.
Well, welcome.
Am I okay?
Oh, yeah. You never forget your first podcast.
Never. It was in a car.
Uh-huh.
I believe it was a Mazda, and I believe it was Mexican food.
Correct. From Cafe El Tapatio.
Underneath
at Roscoe
the brown
National.
line. No
Underneath
less.
the brown line.
So, it was, I was and still am, a very difficult individual. I was not yielding at all. And like, case in point, I had an issue with you one time.
Okay, I want to talk about this. You mentioned this when we were setting up this interview.
Q1 on Christmas. Metro.
So I used to do an annual live show on stage at Metro that was recorded. Either we broadcast it live or recorded
Broadcast it live.
Yeah, for the radio. Preston, you brought this up to me. I don't even remember this. Like, I remember this in like vague details. I don't understand how people can hold grudges. 'Cause I can't remember things that happen.
It wasn't a grudge.
No, I'm just saying in general. I can't remember things that happen.
I wronged you. And I wronged you because I was absolutely furious that Cupcakes was doing something that was un-Cupcakes. Meaning...
a radio show.
Well, I'm okay with a radio show. None of them were... Like, we didn't have a theme for the night. Obviously, it's Christmas, so... Are we going to get up as Santa Claus? Or what are we going to do? Reindeer? Like, we always had, like, stage gags. No. We're playing in our gym shoes. Like, no Vegas rules. Basically, I'm playing in my gym shoes and jeans. And I'm like, then I'm not having anything to do with that. On top of the fact, I worked that night. I had to work. So, like, I really did want to separate the trenches from Rockstar.
Yeah.
And I didn't... I had some mental issues. And so they all told me to, skip off. And they did it. And I sat there aside of stage like, I can't believe you're doing it. And while it's about
I have
to
such
happen...
faint memories of this.
While it's about to happen, you're on stage, you're on air, you're talking to the people, you're presenting, you're being professional. You're a professional. It's a true story. And you called me out. I broke a major cardinal rule. Like, you called me out to stage, and I looked at you and went like this. No, Preston, I need you to come out. Please, come on out here. People like to talk to you. Preston Graves, everybody. And I went like this. And I saw the look on your face. You were like this. You motherfucker. And I apologize.
Thank you. I clearly don't hold a grudge because I can barely remember it. It's been 20 years. Things have happened since then.
Yeah, but I did that's a show business diss.
It is. It is. And I do have that feeling of, oh my God, I've got to tap dance live on the air. I have
ungrateful son of a bitch. Do you realize how many people would love to be in your shoes? I didn't see any of that. I couldn't feel any of that. I was out of my mind. And so now... just the idea of getting a little blurb in the press, like, yes, because I know it doesn't happen. Like, it's a very special thing, and having you ask me to come up on air on a big stage that is a historical, awesome venue of, historically awesome shows on that stage, and I just totally just pissed it right there.
Someone just asked, where are we eating? It's Cafe El Tapatio on Ashland by Roscoe. You were probably thinking during that show, this is my brand. This is the Preston Graves brand. Like, this is my version of punk rock.
It was the first mutiny of my band.
That was.
That was a weird night.
Yeah, so tell me what it was like, since you remember that night more vividly than me. Tell me what happened after that show. Was there just like a verbal shellacking going on backstage?
No, I was on thin ice. I didn't have much leg to stand on, especially after pulling that stunt. I really, as much as I was a real difficult person, I did absolutely yield to this crew for obvious reasons. They're holding the ship up.
Yeah.
They really did hold the ship up. And so, answer your question, why did you push them forward? Well, I was super insecure, and these guys...
So we were talking about that before we went live. You never really stepped up and did press as the front man of this band. It was always the other three guys, these world-class musicians. Certainly valid that they did the interviews, but it was never you, the most front-facing face of the entire band.
Correct. I mean, I actually asked some people, like, what do I do for this? This is my first sit-down on a camera and microphone situation. And just be yourself. I didn't know who that was back then. And,
Fair.
And Matt was already doing so much work via the Pumpkins, via the other stuff, the Filter stuff.
I forgot about Filter when I was mentioning his resume.
Yeah.
He's got a really cool LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, he does. The reason why, aside from the fact that he is a human metronome and the skill sets, it's that he is such a solid human being that you can count on it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay a premium for that in this world.
So let's fast forward a little bit. You're doing Cupcakes are headlining Metro.
Yes.
Celebrating the 20-year anniversary of this album that was just kind of left for dead.
Hold on, a Stephen Street album. It's very important.
For people who don't know who Stephen Street is, he produced the album and he has also produced
every Blur record that's worth listening to, a big chunk of the Smith body of work, all the Morrissey stuff in the early on, Lloyd Cole and the Commotions.
I love Lloyd Cole and the Commotions.
Psychedelic Furs, and not just like a couple cuts, like a body of work. He's like we're one of the first American bands he's ever even considered. It was a real honor to work under him.
Someone just asked, what instrument do you play? Preston Graves is the front man. He plays the voice.
In this band,
Cupcakes.
I did write music. I play guitars, and I have a small degree in music. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that. This has been illuminating.
Yeah, so how do you play guitar next to somebody like Greg?
Right.
You can say, hey, I got these things, and he goes, oh, I see what you're going for, and then it just comes to life. So...
More steak tacos, courtesy of Cafe El Tapatio. Lovely food. If you had a chance to eat it all, are you going to be taking this on the run?
I have. My guys up there. I'm like a...
You're doing all the talking. I feel guilty.
I'm a Hothouse Flower now, and food is not my jam.
But you're not a member of Hothouse Flowers, which would be weird.
That was a great band.
That was a great band.
So much
One
art.
of those, lesser paid attention to Irish bands. Don't Go, I'm Sorry, love those songs.
Really awesome band. Great records. I'm glad you said that.
So let's jump ahead. As we're recording this, toward the end of February, we are approaching the return of Cupcakes on February 29th, headlining Metro. Based on everything you told me about the interpersonal relationships of the band, the combustibility of the band, how on earth, was it just time heals all wounds and you can get together and do this thing?
Well, I've been working with Matt and Saul on my side projects. I've put out 2 records with Matt and Saul in the past 3 years. And I woodshedded a lot of that with them for about a decade. So our relationship wasn't entirely... it actually got stronger. And I worked on myself over the years, and...
You're clearly in a different place.
Without question. And most people are
Yeah.
who survive. Everybody has the ability to change. The plasticity of your brains is incredible. And after a while, you're going to have to, if things are bad, you got to change those. That's not sustainable.
Right.
My thing with Greg, I made a push this past year. I saw he was coming through Austin with the Bs, the B-52s, Rock Lobster. And I'm like, I'm going to reach out. And I reached out, and he had 3 days for me. And a lot of times, a lot of my friends come through Texas now, which is really cool because Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm going to see you in Chicago. I'm not going to go travel to DeKalb and go see you. But in Texas, being in Austin, I'll go see you in San Antonio.
Right.
I'll go see you in Houston. I'll go see you in Dallas. And so you're on this like little mini tour with him. And so while doing that, I got a couple days off with him, and I just, I'm wrong. I did this. I just did a big, I don't know what 12-steppers do when they just unload all the horrible things they've done to you. I don't know any of the steps or anything like that, but this like big, like, I don't know what's that called. It's called making amends.
Sure.
And so I took a lot of accountability for a lot of things, and I just dropped it on him at a vegan dinner. And I guess it marinated because a month or two later, I'm getting a call that I will be performing Cupcakes. So,
like they booked the show and just kind of said, "You should really be there since we booked the show."
Well, it wasn't as dry as that. It basically, Matt was on point with this and his relationship with Metro and Joe, and was like, "We have this opportunity. Would you like it?" And I'm like, initially said no. And saw that's the old program. Put in the new program, and yeah, that's where we're at. We've worked really hard to get to this point, and it sounds great, and I love those guys. It's going to be a nice full circle, and maybe I can put it to bed.
I was going to say, it's such a cliche and sappy word, but closure. Like, you can kind of tie up all those exposed nerves, all those loose ends that were left from 20 years ago. It's a nice, proper way to do that.
Yes. I won't have any ill feelings or woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of things. Just put it to bed. Of course, I know what's going to happen. It's going to be a great evening.
Yes.
I already know how it's sounding. It's all there. It might even be better. The gear's better. Certainly, people's skill sets are better. I've never been a better singer at this point. I think that the door is slightly open. We all have the technology to work in a period of a year to bring another Cupcakes record. Would I love that? Absolutely.
Interesting. Obviously, that was the ultimate question I was going to end this with.
That's full closure to me. We're not, because listening to you say their debut and only record is such a kick in the crotch for me that it's a motivator to do otherwise.
So really, the show kind of brings closure to that era, and then new material would push everybody forward emotionally, spiritually, etc.
I've been in the room just with the three of us, and it's involuntary. We all ooze music in different ways, and when we come together, it's there. There's all kinds of stuff there to do. Whether people have the gumption and the stomach for it we'll find out. I think this show's going to be really fun, and we're going to get the accolades that are somewhat, I don't want to say deserved, but we're due a little love in this town. This band has worked so hard for various other people. This band was what's her face? Why am I brain farting on Liz Phair? That was her Exit to Guyville, or what was that record?
Oh, there's Guyville and Whipsmart. Then
so they did her reunion of that. This band has been poached by lots of bands who are taking their vanity project to the next level and recording. They grab the brothers all the time. We have a big footprint in this town, a little bit more than people give us credit for.
Well, I look forward...
And there's tons of people like that here. I don't
without
know
a
what
doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. But I look forward to you kind
heroes.
of reclaiming your spot here in Chicago. Preston Graves, Saturday, February 29th, Metro, Cupcakes. the next step forward for the band.
Yeah.
I love it.
Dude, is this it? That was painless.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
You're a dream.
All right, we're going to wrap up by eating some food. I want to thank, speaking of food, Cafe El Tapatio for providing us an inordinate amount of food. I think the plan was originally to have all 4 cupcakes here, so we're eating for 4, which, that's how you start a week.
Yeah.
Eat a 4-person meal.
Get some energy.
I also want to thank C&H Financial Services for sponsoring the show. If you are a restaurant, small business owner, check into that. No fees. That's all you need to know. C&H Financial Services. That is Preston Graves. Reconnecting with him after many years. The voice, the lilting voice that we love so much from Cupcakes. See him, see the band, some of the best players you will ever see on a stage. That is no bullshit. Some of the best musicians you will ever see. That's happening Saturday night at Metro. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Preston. Thank you for listening. If you're listening on the podcast, people forget it's a podcast. But I'm going to wrap this up now.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can wave.